In the summer months, Vesta Vaingloria is most often sighted at night, lacking proper defense from the day star's harsh rays. She can be found in various hovels, writing, dancing, preening, and drinking. At the season's end, she will emerge with renewed bloodlust against palm trees and cacti, and hopefully some new poetry.
Thank you, AJ. So I'm going to read from what it's very diverse what I often read from, but I often forget to mention what it is, so I'm going. These are all pieces that are going into a book that I have been in the progress of writing since it was my CalArts MFA thesis. It still just keeps going. And it's called The Shadows of Mankind, and it's all about the evolution of dandyism in so many different forms, including up through my own life. Most of these are about me and my life, but they're not all like that. Dignity in excess. In self-deprecating jest, some Goths will use the abomination Goth to say with tongue-in-cheek that one is missing Goth clubbing, for instance. For proper effect, this is usually typed, not spoken, therefore plaguing the internet more than actual conversation. Even though it is mainly the speaker who is the butt of the joke, I still cringe. Those F's manifest the nervous fear of taking oneself too seriously, which then lends itself to no one taking anyone seriously. Do not be afraid to grow some dignity. It's the same when seasoned Rocky Horror people refer to Magenta as mags, overdoing it on the familiarity, degrading her to a flat, sloppy syllable. As a horror Magenta, I do not stand for it. Though I fantasize about someday owning a dark wood or wrought iron canopy bed frame, my mattress lives directly on the floor, and probably always will. The one time that I had sex on an antique wooden bed frame, I was traumatized. The relentless creaking and the obnoxiously predictable rhythm is so very distracting and comical, the wrong kind of cartoonish. In many other aspects of my life, I have no trouble dwelling in the cartoonish, such as high contrast makeup. But this is simply not one of them. Am I too serious? In which I become clip art. Living the dream. In 2013, I became an internet meme. It began with a club photo. On the patio of the Dragonfly, I stand beside one of my posing and gesticulating friends, giving the photographer dagger eyes over a glass of whiskey, as if only noticing him in passing. By the time the meme happened, the photo was already about 3 years old and another hair color ago. In my new life as clip art, I leave the Dragonfly and travel to the Taj Mahal, to space, to the pyramids, to a Syrian war zone, to Comic-Con, all with block letter captions, Vesta is not impressed. I had a moment of worry that strangers on the internet would come to view me as some gother than thou douchebag. Such are the concerns of our day and age. Until I recalled the fleeting passage in Baudelaire's essay, The Dandy. It was one of very few lines that previously had not resonated with me. It is the delight of causing astonishment, and the proud satisfaction of never oneself being astonished. According to Baudelaire, this aura of indifference, disdain, of being thoroughly and consistently unimpressed, may be a cultivated affect of the dandy persona. In my regular human life, I emote unconsciously yet obsessively. To act effusively polite and engaged is exhausting, especially in a corset. And the merits of honest disinterest are one of the few points on which Baudelaire and Robinson might have agreed. Robinson was an author that I talked about way earlier in the thing, that's irrelevant, so sorry. Dandies of pop. In Velvet Goldmine, Brian Slade stands glittering in the spotlight, blinded by flashbulbs and his newfound fame. He is surrounded by a circus of probing journalists, one of whom demands with pen to paper, "Is it your belief that all dandies are homosexual?" He replies in the words of Wilde, "Ha! Nothing makes one so vain as being told that one is a sinner." By slyly circumventing a direct answer, he gives a truer one. The orientation of the dandy matters less than his aura. The association of dandyism with queerness and of queerness with subversion are part of this aura. The fact that the Bowie-esque character of Brian Slade is bisexual both embodies this betweenness and can perhaps be irrelevant. If meaning is not in things but between them, a direct yes or no would have been utterly meaningless. Okay, these last two pieces I started writing last night, and are about the IMX documentary that I mentioned earlier. And I'm not a spontaneous person, though I may try to seem like one at times. So sharing anything that is new, like this level of new, is just not something that I do ever. So, and I don't even have enough distance really to be writing about it in the way that I would like to. And yet, here I am, sharing with you lovely people anyway. So, had to just say that. Give her a mask. I walk into the W Hotel on Hollywood and Argyle, laptop in my I Living Dead bag, and heels clicking on the marble. I am here to meet with Chris Pointer and Janine Guzang of IMX about a documentary project, and I am bewildered. It is no secret that I am not, never have been, and don't even aspire to be, a screenwriter. But my friend who is spearheading this project believes in my relevance, abilities, and insight far more than I do. Additionally, IMX is the only artist who has not been making music since before my birth, and whom I am disinvested. And I do not have a history of doing particularly well interacting with anyone of whom I am a fan. It is at times contradictory to be a dandy and to be a fan. It is submissive, sublimating one's own identity, for better or worse. Consider the terms fangirl or fanboy. The implications are reminiscent of fag hag, with the demeanor of becoming subservient to one's own enthusiasm for another, and yet complimentary to no one. My excess of pride prevents me from settling comfortably into the fan position. The other day, as I attempted to organize these thoughts, I put on Velvet Goldmine in the background and had a disturbing revelation. After years of wondering if I am more of a Brian Slade or a Jack Ferry, obviously it's Jack Ferry, or so I thought, I realized that I have been Arthur Stewart all along. I am Christian Bale's awkward, starstruck fanboy turned journalist, possibly the least glamorous character in the film about glamour. But like Arthur, I have calmed my nerves by having a purpose. As I sat there with Chris on that alcove couch, with wine, my laptop, and a bunch of barely touched food on the low table, the barrier of my typing allowed me to keep my identity intact. Eye contact. As we ordered second drinks, Chris and Janine discussed who would drive home. Coming from someone who had just 1 hour ago told me that he had tried to swim home to England from a San Diego show in the 90s. This is a mark of evolution and also a quaint normalizing moment to witness. When we got back to talking, he gave me the second half of his wine. As he did, he told me, harkening back to when we had all sat down together with our drinks and cheered each other, that in Europe it's considered extremely bad luck if you don't look everyone in the eye when you cheers them. I knew that bad luck was a polite euphemism for rude, and his effort to avoid condescension was not lost on me. I told him candidly that this was a manifestation of my own social anxiety, and if he had asked me if I had been looking him in the eye earlier, I would have said yes, and meant it. And yet this wasn't surprising because I know that I do this. I have this trait, to have this trait recognized by a person whom I admire could have been a further prodding at my aforementioned dignity, but it wasn't. This particular vulnerability felt opposite of my rejection of fanhood. After discussing his own anxieties and struggles for hours, he was able to look outside of his own and into mine. This is more affirming than anything. I have been learning that dignity and pride go hand in hand with anxiety and neuroses. All dandies, myself included, are likely extremely anxious, working tirelessly to cover it up with glitter and sideways glances. I had not noticed that he, Janine, and myself all shared the same eye color until I looked at a picture the next day.